Totally fine.
Hey everybody, I'm Ray. This is episode 11 of Cultivation Chats, and I'm so excited to have Briana Shaw of Carlisle Clay here with me today. Hey Briana. Thanks so much for being here. So Briana is the founder, creator, maker behind Carlisle Clay, which is a jewelry company. I'm wearing a pair of her beautiful creations right now. I love them so much. And she's one of the OG Raleigh makers, people. There's not a whole lot of people in Raleigh who are originally from here. So it's really cool to see her like staying here, putting down roots and creating this amazing creative business to share. Real quick, I'm going to plug, she's downtown Raleigh First Friday, every first Friday in front of Raleigh Times on Martin Street. And also has a show coming up in Atlanta next weekend. It's called the Spectacular Black Girl Art Show, and it's at the Foundry. Just in case you don't watch to the end, just wanted to get those plugs in. So anyway, Briana, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks so much for having me. You look great in your earrings, by the way. Love them.
Thank you. I love them. I get compliments on them every time I wear them. I think it's like, it's both the size and the articulation and the sort of like yin yang color situation.
Yes, love to hear that.
Yeah, I love them. So I'd love to just kind of go right into chatting about how you got, like how you went from not having Carlisle Clay, not being a maker, to being a maker and starting this business.
Cool. Well, technically, I feel like I've always been a maker, especially if you ask my mom. I've always been a very, very creative person. Even as like a child. So she's like not surprised at all that I'm that I have a business and I'm making something. So as far as Carlisle Clay is concerned, funny story, I am a nanny when I'm not creating. And one summer, the kids, we were making a lot of crafts and just like random things. And I have always loved jewelry, always loved earrings in particular, and would wear them to work. And the little girl says, well, Miss Briana, can you make me some earrings? And I said, you know, I think I can. I'm going to try that. So years before, I had like screenshotted someone on Instagram who was making clay earrings. I had never seen it before, thought it was cool, thought maybe I'll like dabble in that one day. So I go through like all of my pictures and find what she used, went to the craft store, which was at the time where you could get most of the clay. Yeah, I went to the craft store, bought the materials, and just started playing around and realized that I really liked it. Now, the first few were not at all something that I would wear.
Yeah.
But through practice and just experimenting, it's been fun. So
that's awesome. I love that you share that, because the idea of stumbling upon something that ends up being your passion, that's the reason I started this whole series, is the idea that sometimes it just takes somebody happening to see or hear something and say, I might try that. And then next thing you know, this is the thing that you love and do for a business. I think it's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say, I
was gonna say, I will say it wasn't very popular back then. So it was kind of hard to get into and kind of hard to figure out like best practices and like how to get certain finishes and stuff like that. But now I think in general, since the pandemic, things are a lot more like transparent, I guess. And so with a lot of like a lot of mediums, you can very easily find someone who makes earrings or whatever it is. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I've seen so many videos on Instagram and YouTube. They just kind of, the Instagram videos just pop up in my feed. Tons of process videos. And, you know, when I was doing my jewelry full time and I taught classes and did demos, people would always ask me, well, aren't you afraid somebody's going to steal your idea or, you know, start copying you or whatever? And I'm like, listen, if somebody wants to sew 800 beads together to create a single ring, like, go for it. And I feel the same way when I see the kind of work you do, the process videos. I'm like, wow, carving every little tiny piece and inserting these little speckles and rolling everything out. It's just, I love the idea that we can all just share the process of what we're doing, and there's just enough to go around.
Yes, for sure. Room for everybody, for sure.
Yeah. So at what point did you decide, okay, I love this thing that I'm doing? Maybe you made earrings for yourself, friends, family, maybe you had a couple commissions. When did you decide, I'm actually going to go for this and make a business out of it?
Well, another funny story.
Uh-huh.
I've had a lot of help along the way. You'll find that I've had a lot of help along the way. So, like right before the pandemic, I moved from Washington back to Raleigh and was at my parents' house. Still am at my parents' house, and was starting the process of making. Pandemic hit, all that. So my stepmom is watching me like make all of these earrings and all of this. I think I was making like pendants or something too. I don't know, but she's watching this whole process and she's like, "You need to be selling this. Like, why are you making all this stuff?
Yeah.
It's sitting in your room or like sitting in the kitchen. Like, you can't take over the house with all this stuff. You need to like put it out there." I know people that would wear it. I would wear it. She started wearing them. So she was a big help in just pushing me to get my stuff out there. She actually like started posting on my Instagram initially, which was so nerve-wracking.
Oh, so she was the one managing your Instagram?
A little bit. For the first
Very
like
cool.
month or two that I posted things, I had just taken random pictures. They weren't at all what I wanted it to look like. I had this whole vision in my head, which was low-key stopping me from posting them. She was like, "Doesn't matter, like just get it out there right now and then see what happens." So yeah, she put all the pictures up there, random captions. I was like, cringing. Cringing so hard.
But it's like someone you know and also someone from a different generation. I imagine there were some moments where you were like, I would not say that.
I mean, it was just like a generic caption. So it wasn't like anything crazy or like weird. It just was like, I had this whole vision in my head of like what I wanted it to look like. And that wasn't it, you know? But I'm so grateful that she did that because I don't know if I'd be here right now. Like, she really pushed me to get it out there. And because of that, during I think it was like June of 2020, during the Black Lives Matter movement and everything, all the makers just in general, I think, but in particular in my medium in the clay world, started looking for Black artists and looking for people who make things who are, people of color. So one of them that I had been following for years posted my stuff, and all of a sudden, my entire like website is like nothing. Like there's nothing left.
Who posted it?
I don't think she has an Instagram anymore, but her name is Emily Jeffers.
Okay.
We had previously 31 Sons, Shop 31 Sons, and then more recently, I think they changed to Asset Rising or something like that.
Oh,
but
sweet.
Clay. So, but she was a big help in getting me started and
awesome.
Out there for sure. So definitely shout out to Emily.
Well, I love what you said about your stepmother just pushing you, because what's that quote? Like, perfection is the enemy of good, or perfection is the enemy of progress, or something like that. Like, especially if as a creative person, I think it's easy to say like, this is how I want to be seen. This is how I want to present my work. And, months or even years can go by of just not putting something out there because it's not packaged the way we want it to be. I mean, same with booth design. I mean, gosh. Yeah. I was recently looking at the first photos from my first shows and just like shameful, like a sheet over a folding table, with no actual displays, everything just laid flat.
Yeah.
Wow.
We all start somewhere though. You have to start somewhere. So I think that's like my takeaway with all of this is that like, if you want to do something, it's not going to be perfect at the beginning. Like, it's just not. So that idea, just get it out of your head. It's not going to be exactly what you want it to be the first time, but there's like, I don't know, you have time, you have time to perfect things, or maybe not even perfect things, just get them the way that you want to, package them or whatever. But yeah, it's not going to be perfect the first time. Just do it. Like, who cares? We don't know what the image is in your mind, right?
Yeah. For
all we know, this is how things are supposed to be, and who knows who might like it and who might buy into it. So
and I love what you said about just try it, because as kids I was talking about this recently, we're totally fine to try something new and be clumsy at it and just, hey, but it makes me happy, so I'm going to keep doing it. And then eventually the kid goes from finger painting to like painting that you can actually discern what it is, and next thing you know, maybe that's what they end up doing. But as adults, we're so afraid of judgment, and we have that need to be perfect, and so we try something, it's not immediately, like, I don't believe in the word talent really. Like, I believe that we're drawn to certain things where we maybe are more adept at some things than others, but it's dedication and practice, and like willingness to fail and willingness to get it wrong. And I think, you know, so many of us are scared of getting it wrong. We don't even do it in the first place.
Yeah. And I feel like that goes for like most things in life, like definitely creative things, but even non-creative things. I feel like people are so afraid to get it wrong, or afraid that you'll fail in whatever new like venture you're trying to do, whatever new like practice you're trying to implement. It's always that fear of getting it wrong or looking crazy, or what are people going to say, or whatever. But really none of that matters. And like you said, with kids, like they don't think about any of that. They think about none of that, and they're like, this is beautiful, I made this, I'm doing this is what I'm doing, this is awesome, I'm awesome. And I love that about it. I really do.
I've tried to do a lot more play recently. Like, I just finished a pottery class series. Never done pottery before.
That's my next like
Okay, so the Pool and Art Center is great, and that's where I took my first wheel class, but I want to do hand building next. Really? Okay, well maybe we should take a class together.
Yeah, I just took a class like yesterday, actually. Somebody posted about Pool and Art Center hand building class, and I know the instructor.
Are you serious?
And like DMing her, like, is this like, how much does this cost? Like, what's the deal with it? Because I need to, like, I don't know where I'm fitting this into my schedule, but I really.
Did you already sign up for it or no?
No, I haven't.
Not yet? Okay, well, I'm gonna look at it after we get off of this.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, I sat down at the wheel, and you know, I mean, even up until the very last class, I just felt like I really don't know what's going on, but I'm just getting in the zone, and I'm covered in clay, and I'm trying something, and I'm connecting with the material, and it just made me really happy. But am I gonna become a potter? No. Am I gonna start like, but like I don't, it's like I don't even want to. I loved doing it. It was such a cool exercise, and just like working with new materials. And I think I'll take some of what I learned and apply it to different craft, and maybe even working with clay in different ways. But I just think more people should do that. Just
for sure.
Try new things, take classes. It doesn't have to become a product. And if it does, that's cool.
Right.
So,
but the process is sometimes therapeutic, and sometimes exactly what you need, even if what you made is like, looks like nothing. It's the process that like really is enjoyable, for sure.
I've got some wobbly mugs, so that's cool. So I'm curious, along the way, you've had some help, you've had some encouragement. Have there ever been moments where you're sort of like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? This is hard. Anything that came up that felt like a big obstacle?
I have to think about obstacles. Nothing immediately like huge comes to mind, other than just like my own thoughts and judgments and like self-criticisms is a thing for me. Like, I am very hard on myself, so I think that's probably been the biggest obstacle, and just like self-comparison to other people, or like people who are like have your similar aesthetic, or like maybe are doing the ideas that are in your mind that you haven't done yet.
God, don't you hate that?
Like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Okay, have you read Big Magic, the book?
No.
Okay, I would love it if you do read it. Just tell me what you think, because there's this part when she talks about how, you know, the universe, or whatever, you know, anybody believes in, we get sort of delivered these ideas. Like, the muse gives us these ideas, but we're not the only ones. So there's like all these people out there receiving the same idea, and it's a matter of who acts on it first. And so it's one of the reasons that, and maybe we're acting on it at the same time. So we might be like, oh yeah, this is original, I've never seen this before. But at the same time, we're debuting a new thing.
Yes.
Like, wait.
And you're like, hold on.
I did that too.
Were you in my room when I was drawing?
It's so weird. It's like kind of eerie.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing. I feel like I don't I don't know. I think I don't know about the universe or like muses or stuff like that, but for me, it's like, I feel like we're all exposed to similar things, right? There's like a finite amount of inspiration, I feel like,
Yes.
or things that you can draw from. We're all on Instagram. We all, go shopping, or we do similar things in similar environments. So I feel like potentially we could draw inspiration from very similar things and end up with a very similar product. So
Totally.
that can be very challenging because it's sometimes if you get too into it, you could potentially be like distracted and discouraged and, be like, I'm making the same thing they're making, but it potentially looks better or like whatever, all of that stuff that like goes through your head. So I think for me, not scrolling through Instagram has been helpful. Not looking at every single thing that other people are making. And then but with that along the way, a lot of people have just been very encouraging, very helpful, and just the community in general has been amazing. So I'm very, very grateful for that. At the start of maybe not the start, but like during the Black Lives Matter movement, when all this stuff on Instagram is coming out, there was a group of other Black makers that got into like the DM group chat thing, and it was very large and it was very, very helpful. So that all of the women in that group were extremely helpful during that time. And then just going to markets and meeting people and getting their feedback has been my favorite thing.
That's awesome.
favorite thing. Like that, again, community, but also the encouragement and just like getting other people's opinions on your work is sometimes interesting, but most times really, really helpful and really encouraging.
Yeah, I really resonate with that, because one of the things I found was that when I was doing markets, somebody would come up to my booth and ask a question about something that I didn't have an answer to. And that became an opportunity for innovation and product development. It was like, oh, I didn't know this was a question or a problem someone might have. And now I have an opportunity to address that. So I really appreciated that direct, human opportunity. Is there anything like your first market, was there anything that surprised you? And for example, my first market, I realized I'm very bad at reading directions. I have ADHD and I lose focus, so I often don't. And I was surprised that I needed like sandbags at my booth, So is there anything like that? It's kind of like, seems like a no-brainer thing, but you're like, oh, now that I know this, my life is so much easier, or I don't know, just anything unexpected.
Definitely the sandbags thing was a new thing for me. Something that never occurred to me. You need weights on your tent so it doesn't fly away, obviously.
Right.
That didn't occur to me either. What else? I don't know, like market culture is very interesting, and it really is dependent on like where you're at, who's organizing it, what like the population of the area is. So I think consistently I've been like surprised by what things do really well in what areas, and then like what people are looking for, what they're shopping for. And it's been really interesting. Like I went to a market not too long ago where people were just coming by and just like looking first and not shopping, and I was getting really nervous. Like, so am I gonna make any sales today or not? People are seemingly, liking my stuff, but some markets people kind of do a circle and then they come back and
that's what I do when I'm a shopper.
Yeah. So I don't personally shop that way, so that was a new idea for me. I was like, all right. Is this a bust? Is this a good market? I don't know what's happening. So that I didn't expect. And then if you've ever walked away from your booth and someone was standing there and you see them and you try to walk back to catch them, they're gone.
Yes.
Whatever happens in that time is always like, what? Are you shopping? I don't know. So that happens consistently, and it's always very funny to me, but definitely not something I expected to happen when I started. But the last question you asked, it just occurred to me, a major obstacle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So more recently, well, I have to back up. In general, like the start of my brand, my pieces were travel inspired, and that was kind of my whole like concept behind my brand, or a large piece of it. Because of the pandemic, I have not traveled. You know what I mean? I haven't gone as many places as I would have liked. I didn't go on the trips that I had planned, like all of that. So it became very difficult to say now that my pieces are travel inspired because I haven't traveled.
Yeah.
So that has been a major thing with just like trying to almost rebrand and draw inspiration from other areas, and having a clear, like defined, this is where most of my inspiration comes from, or not having that. So that's currently like what I'm going through right now is, do I want that to be, because it becomes very limiting when you have like, this is where all my pieces are going to come from, you know? So that mindset and like opening up to other forms of inspiration, and then trying to deliver those like messages about the product to the consumer has been a major obstacle.
Yeah, I get that.
So yeah.
Well, on that note, I will say that these traveled with me to Mexico and back recently.
Love it.
And one of the things I love about your work is that like people might think clay earrings, oh, they're really like stiff, brittle, breakable, but these are very soft and they have a little bit of flex. So I found that, you know, of course I put them in like a little muslin bag. I didn't want them to be scratched or anything, but it was totally fine to just stick them in like my purse pocket or the pocket of my bag. They were, I mean, not breakable, very, very lightweight, very lightweight. You can walk a city all day long in these and not know you're wearing them. So that was one of my, they're ones that like, if I'm going to be doing an all day thing or traveling, they've been really great.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, those were inspired by Florence and gelato.
Oh.
Look like ice cream cones a little bit to me. But
yeah, because these do have the little speckles, like a really good vanilla.
Yes, vanilla bean, exactly. So that was the inspiration behind those. And that's probably my favorite collection thus far, Florence. But I think it's because I love Florence so much, and it like really came through in my work. But yeah, it's been a challenge, but I love to hear that people are traveling with their pieces and really loving them and loving how they feel in them. That's really my major goal, is like, we all, with travel and just with life in general, I've moved around a lot, where the name Carlisle comes from. My mom moved around a lot, but her favorite home was Carlisle Street.
Oh,
so
cool.
That's kind of where the name comes from. But in like all of our journeys and all of our like new ventures, I want to feel like myself in all of those scenarios. And I think this hit me the most when I moved to Washington State. I moved to help a congregation there with their young ones. Oh. And it was very, very small town, like very, very small town. Everybody knew each other. Everybody knew each other's business. It was a lot. But in doing that, I'm one of like 2 people of color, like, or not people of color, but Black people. Most of the town, like 97% of the town was Mexican. So learning Spanish, that's a whole new culture. I'm one of 2 Black people in the entire town. It started to challenge like who I thought I was and like what I kind of stand for and how I operate and all of that. And so that thought process, I think even with moving back to North Carolina, is kind of like, okay, I feel very at home there at the end of it. I feel very at home here, but this is not necessarily my home anymore. So like, where is home, for one? 2, how can I like ensure that within myself, I feel like myself in every new scenario? So for me, earrings, it came back to earrings, which is such a small thing, but like, I really feel like your personal style and how you feel like in your clothes and your accessories and how you decorate yourself really impacts like how you feel walking through life. So for me, it was while I'm there, I'm going to have, you know, big head wraps and earrings, and this is who I am, and I can feel confident about that. And that's my hope with people who wear my earrings, is that if you're going into a new space, if you're in your same space, hopefully these can give you a little push to be who you are in that new area.
I love that. And I think the ritual of self-decoration, whatever form it takes, is so important. I mean, I know that like hair, accessories, clothing, I mean, for me, I feel completely different when I leave the house if I haven't done my little things.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know if it's like partially aesthetic and partially sort of meditation and ritual, but I definitely feel more confident and more myself when I like, doing my things.
Yeah, decorate for sure. And I feel like about like our houses as well. Like when you invite someone over, you invite someone in your space, you've probably decorated, right? You've probably put little things here, little things there to like, I don't know, draw the eye to this or draw the eye to that. So I feel like it's the same. Like you want to feel like proud of your space and proud of like how you feel and look, you know?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we're getting to the point of sort of starting to wrap up a little bit. So I just wanted to ask you as a last question, is there anything that you would want to share, any sort of insight that you gained along the way that, you know, someone out there is thinking of starting a business or even just a career change or trying to find their thing, like anything you would share as a last little piece of advice?
I think what I said before is that just do it. Like, don't overthink it. Don't get in your head and like,
what?
Yeah, don't get in your head. Don't overthink it. Don't think that, you know, this is going to be, don't think too much about it, really. I mean, obviously plan it, obviously kind of count the costs and see if this is something that you can actually do. But once you've done that, just do it. Like, don't compare yourself. Don't do all the what if scenario. Just do it.
Yes.
It will work out. And if it doesn't, then you can go back to doing what you were doing before.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too that people forget that they can dip their toes in. You can keep doing your job, you can keep doing your life and spend, you know, maybe a few extra hours a week or a month doing this new thing that you're trying. Maybe you do a couple shows a year and then you can kind of work your way into it. So some people jump full on in and some people kind of, you know, go slow. But just starting, that's awesome.
And then don't feel the pressure, because I feel like that's a big thing too. Like if you just want to dip your toes in, you can literally do as much as you want to do. But I think there is a pressure. Once you say I've started a small business, there's instantly like pressure to like go full time with it or really dedicate more time into it than maybe you initially wanted to. So I think that's a big thing too. Like, don't feel pressure to go full time with your side hustle, with your hobby, whatever it is. Do what it is that you feel like you can do. Don't burn yourself out, and don't overthink it.
Yeah.
This is your plan. This is what you want to do. This is how much time you want to spend on it. Do that.
Yeah. Do you know Kelly Shepard Murray?
No.
Okay, so she's an artist in Raleigh. She's a sculptor. I've done a cultivation chat with her. One of the things I loved about talking with her is she said the same thing. And she actually, from the start, intentionally decided, like, I don't want my work to be full-time. My intention is never, it's not this idea of like, I'm not good enough if I'm not making enough money to go full-time. She's like, I love teaching art. She's an art professor. I love teaching art. I love spending time with my family. So I've carved out this much time a week for my craft. And whatever doesn't fit into that just doesn't get done. Yeah. And whatever, you know, inventory I have for shows or whatever else, like that's what I have. Right. And I just really love the intentionality of that, because it doesn't have to be full time. Ever.
Yeah. So. And that's okay. Now that you say that, I do remember that cultivation chat, because
she's great. I would love to connect the two of you.
Yeah, I totally agree with all of that. Like, and that's been a struggle, I think, for me too, is that at a certain point, I was like, I could go full time with this. Why am I not going full time with this? Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, no, that would I don't think that's for me. That's just like, it would be cool, it would be nice, but I think it would be a lot. Like that's a big undertaking to go full time with your small business. It's like, it's all on you now, you know?
Yes.
This is how I have to live my life. That's a lot of pressure to put on yourself too. So
yeah, and I think even people who I love pressure. I love feeling like if I don't make this happen, everything could fall apart. Like that adrenaline is just like what I live for. However, what I didn't expect is how lonely it would be, because I was full-time for a while. And, I had so many shows and so many things to account for that I'd be up starting to make jewelry at like 6, 7 in the morning.
Yep.
And I'd still be doing it late at night, like sitting in the same spot, not going out with friends, saying no to, social engagements, saying no to opportunities, because I felt like I had to produce all the time, or else like I could look up and the rug would be pulled out from under me. It was very lonely. And so even though like I could justify it, I've gotten to the point where I was like, okay, I can pay my bills on this. I mean, it was tight, but I can do this full time. I just, after a while, I was like, this is just brutal. Like, this isn't the life I want.
Right. And I think that's important to like iron out. What life do you want? What does that look like for your day to day? And does your going full time with your business, does that fit into that? And sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't. And I've definitely been where you're saying. Definitely been there. Last year was a lot of markets and I took on a lot. And so I very easily got burned out and was produce. And that wasn't even necessarily some of the pieces that I made then I love, but aren't necessarily what I want to make, So I think that it impacts your work as well. When you are burned out or when you are taking on too much. So yeah, totally agree with that.
Yeah, I think instead of everybody focusing on creating business plans, we should be creating life plans instead.
Honestly.
Like, let's create, what life do you want? And now let's like reverse engineer that into, okay, now what fits?
Right. I think I need to do that. I might do that this week.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Reevaluate.
Brainstorming.
Yes.
Cool. Sure. Listen, I don't want to take up any more of your time. This has been so great. And you've shared just some invaluable nuggets, and I love your work, and I'm really happy to continue seeing where you go and seeing what you do, and just really appreciate you sharing your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This was great. So much fun.
Yeah, definitely. And just like another plug again. So you can find Briana Carlisle Clay at the First Friday Market every first Friday in Raleigh, right outside of Raleigh Times, Morning Times on Martin Street. And I love both of those places too, by the way. And then also next weekend, which would be the May 7th? Is that next weekend? What are we looking at?
I think it's that Sunday though, like the 8th or 9th.
Okay, cool. So in Atlanta at the Foundry, the Spectacular Black Girl Art Show is happening, and she's going to be there. So if you're in the area, go check her out.
Yep. Also the art museum. I totally forgot to mention that.
Oh,
yeah.
Do you have your work there all the time?
I do. I actually am behind on restocking.
So is that the North Carolina Museum of Art, NCMA?
Yeah, North Carolina Museum of Art on Blue Ridge Road in Raleigh. I have an exclusive collection there. Those pieces are just there. They're not anywhere else. And they are inspired by their permanent collection there, as well as I did a collection for Art in Bloom that I'm going to, at some point, restock.
Awesome.
That are like floral inspired. So
great. Well, next time I'm at the museum, I'll check them out for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you again, Briana. And I hope you have an amazing day, and you'll have to just keep checking in, and we'll look forward to seeing your work out there.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
Okay. You too.